What is good, everybody? It is your boy TB, and I'm back with another one. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Detroit Pistons and how scary they look to be this coming future. And they're really a team that is building something special out in the East, and they look to be on top again like they were in the early 2000s back in 04, 05, and a little bit in 06. They didn't quite win the chip, but they were still a pretty good team. If you know, you know. This video is technically fan requested. Well, I wouldn't even say fan requested because it was my dog that requested it. It's my friend. We actually met during COVID. My dog Alex, you're one of the few people that I know that is a Detroit Pistons fan and is very loud and proud about it. So if you are a Pistons fan and you're watching this video, you're coming across my channel for the first time, subscribe, lock in, go ahead and drop a comment below as well. Represent Detroit. Let me know how y'all coming. I really want to know for real, because as far as I see, Detroit don't really got that big of a fan base, but prove to me otherwise. I like to be proven wrong. I ain't gonna lie. Now, if we're gonna talk about the Pistons, well, we first have to start pretty much last season. Now, you could go further back than that, but that's just where we're gonna start. Last year, because Cade Cunningham was injured for majority of the year. He only played 12 games, but in those games that he missed, all the other young guys for the Pistons, they grow. I'm a firm believer in that. When you do have a main star out and it's technically one of those years where it's a down year, you're not expecting to do much at all, not contend, not compete, none of those things, then I'm expecting you to allow your young talent to play, put the ball in their hands, and go see what they can do. And then you go back in the lab, rework some things, let them develop over the summer, and just keep building upon that and just keep the process going. And I think the Pistons are one of those teams that have done that in a very, very good way, and their process with regard to getting past the rebuilding stages, it's starting to come to fruition, and we're gonna see more of the developmental years in terms of that rebuilding process. None of us never expected the Pistons to be a competitive team last season at all, but with Cade, we did expect them to win some games, probably max around 30. I wouldn't say 35, that might be pushing it, but regardless, I think we all could assume that they were either a fringe playing team at best, or they just weren't going to be the worst team in the league. And to my surprise, maybe not to yours and many others out there, but to my surprise, they were the absolute worst team in the league. And it sucks to say that this was a great year for you to be a bad team in the league. Amazing year, probably one of the best of all time. Many people are saying that because Victor Wembanyama, that 7'4" beast, he was waiting to be picked up #1. Now, I'm sure securing the worst record in the league, Pistons fans, you guys thought you had a great shot at getting Victor Wembanyama, and you did. I'll admit that I thought y'all were going to get Victor. I'm not going to lie. The scriptwriters did their job getting him to the Spurs, though. That was, y'all earned y'all paycheck. Y'all got extended. I'm not going to lie. But the Pistons, you know, the lottery odds fell against their favor even worse. They didn't get the #2 pick. They didn't get the #3 pick. They fell further than you would expect from the worst team in the league. And though they didn't get the top talent in the draft, they did still get a good player in Ausar Thompson, who we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. Now, despite the disappointing draft luck after the fact, after the season, during the season, in Cade's absence, the young guys, they were able to thrive. They were able to shine. Now, Bojan Bogdanovic, he was their main guy. I'm not going to lie to you. It wasn't Jaden Ivey. It wasn't Jalen Duren. It wasn't Killian Hayes, who would never be their main guy. I don't even know why I said that name. But regardless, it was Bojan Bogdanovic, who's going to be on this team still, because I think he is a great shooter and provides excellent spacing for Cade Cunningham. But most specifically, when we're talking about their 2 draft picks from last year, and Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, they played very, very well without Cade. And like I said before to start the video, I'm a firm believer that if you take the ball out of the hands of your young guys, it's gonna hinder their growth and development. The best way to learn is a hands-on approach, and with Cade out, the ball was in primarily Jaden Ivey's hands, which was great because he showed that he could be a very good playmaker and give Cade a break and allow him to play off the ball as well. But Jalen Duren, he showed some flashes as well, and he quickly popped as potentially the best big on this roster, a roster that has 2 other bigs with a very high ceiling and very high potential. But Jalen Duren himself, he actually showed to be a guy that can be a valuable roller for Cade Cunningham when he comes back, and he was a guy that also provided a lot of double-doubles for this team, so production is something that you're not going to miss with Jalen Duren. To couple with those young guys that have shown clear development in Cade's absence, they brought in Joe Harris and Monte Morris, which brings in clear spacing and shooting. I already told you guys Bojan Bogdanovic is on this team, so he's a clear shooter, and I'm not gonna lie, last year he showed he can shot create at a very elite clip because he was doing that all year. And then they still have Isaiah Livers, I think it's Livers, but I'm gonna just say Livers for now, who can also hit shots, who shot 40% from the field last year. Now with the Pistons, I think overall they kind of have their foundation for their team of the future. They have their star in Cade Cunningham, they have support pieces with Ivey and Duren, and now it's time for them to figure out some of their rotational pieces and the pieces that gel with Cade Cunningham and those three guys that would essentially be their trio, so to speak, going forward. You already have Ausar Thompson, who's the backup playmaker. You could also play him at the 2 or the 3, move Jaden Ivey to the 3. You can do a lot of things, but those 4 guys that you have on this team right now, though young, they can be very formidable for this team going forward in terms of being a championship hopeful. Now, as it stands right now, like I said, they have to round out the roster, but the thing with the Pistons is that they have a lot of capital to be able to do that. They have an abundance of bigs and guards to where they can use that abundance to either trade or flip it for some guys to get in other rotational and depth pieces that they actually need. Now, in terms of their bigs, I feel like at this point, Duren kind of solidified being their starting big. It was pretty much a job that was open altogether, and Duren, he took it very quickly. There's no question about it. He's staying, and he's gonna be your #1 guy, at least to me. I think Jalen Duren has earned that. Now, it's going to come down to, do you trust Bagley or Wiseman? We know Stewart has gotten his extension this year, and he's going to have to be a lot more efficient from the three-point line, and I think that'll develop as time goes. He already got extended by this team, so one of two things is either going to happen, that they're going to keep him or they're going to trade him, and they're going to trade him and use him as a salary cap guy to make a certain trade work in the future. But when it comes down to Bagley and Wiseman, I think it comes down to who you trust more. Whose potential do you believe in? Whose faith do you have that their upside is going to come to fruition? Bagley is only a 24-year-old, pretty good mid-range shooter, can finish at the rim, but we all know he's shown some struggles. He's had some situations where it wasn't the best situation for him and his game, but he does have some upside, and he has shown some flashes where he could be a very good big in this league going forward. The same thing with Wiseman, and with Wiseman, I'm a believer in Wiseman personally. I always felt like he got drafted to the wrong place in Golden State. That wasn't the team for him. That wasn't the kind of game that, you know, he complimented. That wasn't for him, and I think it was best that he got out of there. So it just comes down to which one of those two produces more and what we're gonna get out of them. Now, this problem isn't as urgent as it may seem, because this is a team that they're not expected to win right now. You can be patient with this decision, so you can allow Bagley and Wiseman to develop a little and watch them develop, so that you don't jump the gun and get rid of them a little too early. So I think in terms of their bigs, they could be patient, wait it out, and see what they can do. Now with the guards, you can still be patient, don't get me wrong, because the reasoning for the patience is the fact that this team isn't looked to win. They're not a win now team. We already know this, so you're not urgent in terms of getting players off your books so that you could get guys in. Of course, you drafted Ausar Thompson and Marcus Sasser, and Marcus Sasser, he showed to be a very good scorer in the summer league, so, you know, time will tell with regard to him. He's probably going to be a two-way guy going forward, but they already had Corey Joseph, Killian Hayes, and Rodney McGruder. I think the guard situation is much easier to deal with, because though they can be patient, Corey Joseph and Rodney McGruder, they're old. They don't fit the timeline of this team specifically. I won't say old in terms of the league, but for this team, yeah, you're too old. You have Ausar, Sasser, and Killian Hayes. There's no reason for me to keep two 30-year-old guys on the team, except for a guy like Corey Joseph, who you might keep for a leadership kind of role, but in that case, you have a guy like Bojan, so there's no reason to keep Corey Joseph. Now, I will say this, in terms of depth, that only leaves you with Ausar, Sasser, and Killian. But for Killian, if he doesn't start to improve fast and doesn't start to show some real development, and Sasser continues to play well like he did in the summer league, this might be Killian's last year in a Pistons jersey. Now, I have faith in Killian Hayes because he ended the year off very well. He started to show he could shoot better. His playmaking started to come to fruition, and defending, it's not there, but it'll get there. Now, he's gonna need to show that this year. He's gonna have to prove it this year. I believe in him. I think he can, and I think he has the skill set to do so. It's just about executing at this point. Now, when we talk about play on the court, we know the play is just as important as the team building. And the team building, it's great so far. They're building a team that has a mix of everything from playmaking to shooting to slashing and even defense. But how is that going to translate to the court? How is this team going to execute? That's the biggest piece to the puzzle, because you could have all the talent in the world that you want, but if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. There's teams in the league like that right now where they have an abundance of talent. I was just looking at the roster of the Raptors the other day. Abundance of talent, top to bottom. But when you look at what those players can do and what they do best, what they do well, where players' strengths versus other players' weaknesses are, the team they don't gel. They're not a cohesive unit. One player's strengths isn't another player's weaknesses, and vice versa. It's very redundant with regard to what they can do and what their strengths are. But a team like this, it looks like they have it built in a way where they're able to do some of everything. Jalen Duren, great defender as a big dude, big stocky dude, one of the youngest players, if not the youngest player in the league, if I'm not mistaken. Already shown he can rebound very well, defend very well, but even past that, being a pick and roller is huge for a guy like Cade Cunningham. He's 6'9", can see over the defense. He's lobbing it up to Jalen Duren all day long. Like, that's gonna be very hard to stop. But you could even have a two-man game with him and Ivey. Ivey can have a two-man game with Ausar, which we saw in the summer league where they were killing, coming down on the fast break. Ausar, bouncy as ever, quick twitch, getting up really quickly. This team has some pieces that just need to develop and round out some places in terms of shooting, in terms of defense, and some other minor tweaks, because of course they're a young team, and young teams, they got to develop, they got to figure it out, and experience is your best experience, if that makes sense. That might have been a bar, but let me know. Personally, I think it's obvious what we're getting out of Cade Cunningham. I'm a believer in him. If you're not, if you haven't been, because it is a small sample size in terms of what we've seen from him, but he's part of the Team USA select team. If you're unaware, the Team USA team is preparing for the World Basketball Cup. It's not quite the FIBA games where it's the Olympics. It's the, every 4 years. It's more like the World Cup, like the FIFA World Cup, where you see Barcelona, Spain, and, France, all those other countries with Mbappe. Y'all already know what I'm talking about, bro. I'm already over-explaining. Essentially, he's not on the A team. He's on the B team. The B team helps the A team prepare for all the other A teams. Best way to put it, simplistic. I don't need to go, because if you're here, you know basketball, you know how this works. The overall point that I'm trying to get to, because it seems like I take forever to get to it, Cade Cunningham was killing them boys. And I'm talking about the team that's made up of Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards, Mikal Bridges. Yeah, that team, the main team that we've been seeing everywhere, posted everywhere. He's been killing them, and Jalen Duren is on the team with him as well, and they both have had a very successful two-man game against that team, and it doesn't bode well for the league, because though Team USA, majority of the players are usually not on the same team, these two guys are on the same team. They're getting work in before training camp, and they're also getting work in while Cade Cunningham is being able to rehab, so to speak. I don't want to say rehab, but preparing for the season, but before training camp. Overall, there are some areas that this team is going to have to improve in. Three-point shooting is going to have to tighten up a little bit, though they do have floor spacers, don't get me wrong, like Alex Burks. He shoots 40% from the floor. There's still other players that are going to be playing the bulk of your minutes and that you're going to be looking to help you win games, that you need them to tighten up their shooting, and that's guys like Isaiah Stewart, that's guys like Killian Hayes. They need to figure that out, but as that goes, they're gonna be a team that is competing in terms of, they're gonna be a hard team to beat. They might not win a lot of games, but they're gonna be one of those 20 to 30 win teams that when you look back, they gave a lot of teams trouble. Some of the good teams in the league, they gave trouble as well, and a lot of their games are probably going to be very close this year, and they're not going to come out of them, because of course experience wins you games, and especially those close games. But I will say this, they're going to be a team that learns a lot this year, especially under new head coach Monty Williams. I don't know if you guys recall, but Monty Williams is the guy that righted the ship back in Phoenix when they had a conglomerate of young guys that just didn't really know what to do. Besides Devin Booker, that is. But honestly, this video has gone on way longer than I really expected nor want to do, but we're here. This is just what it is. And I told you guys I'm back. It's your boy TB with the greatest hoop stories in the base on the tube. And as always, if you're new, like, comment, and subscribe for more. And until next time, I am out. Peace.